Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. Actually, it's not morning, it's just almost noon, almost time for lunch, and we are going to have a little bit of pasta. Now with that pasta, we are going to make something that we just love, and that is pesto. But we are going to do it differently than a lot of people do it, so we will get right to that in just a moment. There are many ways to make pesto, of course, and you can, first of all, you can just buy it ready-made in the stores, and some of it is pretty good. You can also use your food processor and just chop everything very finely and make it that way. But today we are going to make it in the authentic way. Pesto originates in Italy, and the word pesto comes from the Italian, which means to crush. So what better to crush these ingredients than a mortar and pestle. So right here is our mortar and pestle. Notice I'm not saying the T is silent. It is a mortar and pestle. And this one is a granite, and it was very inexpensive. Now traditional pesto uses 4 ingredients, and here they are. And actually I have 5 here. But these are shelled pine nuts, and these are not cooked at all. These are raw pine nuts. In fact, as I smell these and taste them, oh, this reminds me of my teenage years when I would spend time in Prescott, Arizona with my grandparents, and they had lots of pinyon pines in that area, and I would crack those open with my teeth and eat these pine nuts right out of the shell. Then we're going to use a little bit of salt, and this is Maldon salt. My sister is fancy cook, and she tuned me into this Maldon sea salt, and it's pretty good, so we'll use just a little bit of this. Then this is fresh basil, and I have about 4 ounces, between 4.5 and 5 ounces of this fresh basil. Now you can either grow this in your garden or you can buy it fresh in the stores. Ours is, we are growing some, but it is not quite ready to harvest enough that we could use. And then I have some extra virgin olive oil right here, about 1/2 cup. And some Parmesan cheese. Now this Parmesan cheese is very hard Parmesan cheese. In fact, this is Reggiano, and you can see that stamped in the back right here. So this is authentic, and it's very, very hard. And we want to weigh this out because using a volume measure doesn't give an accurate measurement. So we're going to be using 2 ounces of this. And I have already grated it with my microplane grater. And so here it is right here. This is 2 ounces of that grated cheese. And of course the microplane does it very, very fine. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Using a mortar and pestle is not necessarily a fast process, because we literally have to crush everything into a paste. Now, oh, and I forgot the garlic. Here is the last ingredient, which is garlic. And actually, I am using a recipe that I sort of borrowed from Chef John at foodwishes.com. I've sort of added my own little touches to it, but I thank him for providing this recipe. Now, we are not huge garlic eaters, so we're not using quite as much as his recipe calls for. And then when we put this in the mortar, we're just now going to crush it and into a paste. And this takes some muscle and just grinding it and grinding it. And this is, the crushing releases the flavor in a very different way than does just chopping or using a food processor. So we have to get this into a paste. And I do a downward twisting motion. Everybody kind of has their own way of doing things. Oh, this is just releasing that garlicky aroma. And these are very fresh. All right, now this is going to take 2 or 3 more minutes. And so we will come back when this is ready to go. This is now a nice paste. And I'm going to now add just a dash of this salt. Now this salt is comes in an inner bag, and it is flakes. Usually they're much larger than that, but I'm down to the bottom of the package. So I'm just going to put in just a pinch of that salt and work that in for just a bit. And it dissolved right away, right into the paste. All right, next comes the basil. And so we're not going to be shy about putting basil in here. We're just going to lump a whole ton of it in here and get started on the crushing part. And this crushing, it's okay if you have a few of the little bits of leaves left and the stems. It won't matter a bit. And this is going to take a little while to get it down. Probably 10 or 15 minutes to crush this. And I can certainly see why people revert to their food processors, because this is not an easy process. So I'm going to continue to work on this. Once I get this first bit done, I'll bring you back and show you progress, and then we'll put the rest in. So you can see I'm just about to the end, and I'm actually literally pounding those stems to crush them. And so it's very pasty now. This was just that first handful. The leaves are almost all completely crushed, and it's just the stems that I'm working on now. So I'm going to put the next batch in, but I would like for you to notice sometimes they come with really heavy stems like this, and I don't use those, so I'm going to just pull these leaves off and add them without the big heavy stems. So I'm going to keep working on this basil. I probably will do it in 2 more batches, and then we'll come back when the basil is all finished. All right, this is almost all the way ready. Very much into a paste. I deliberately wore an old shirt today because this splashes with these juices, so it's really quite a labor-intensive process. I wish you could smell our kitchen. Jim and I are both just, oh, we can't wait for lunch. Our mouths are watering. The fragrance of the basil mixed with the garlic is just amazing. And so now the next step, oh, I'm so excited I can hardly wait. The next step is the pine nuts. So I'm going to take about 3 tablespoons. And then these will go back in the refrigerator for another batch. Now, traditionally, pesto is made with pine nuts and basil, but because these pine nuts are so expensive in some places, a lot of substitutes have emerged. And so, for instance, some people can use walnuts or pecans to give the nutty flavor. I've also found a recipe for fennel pesto. We have a lot of fennel growing outside, and you use just the leafy tops and walnuts. And so I'm also going to try that one as well. Pesto is traditionally this green color because it uses the basil or fennel, or you can even use spinach or kale if you wish. And it is used as a spread on sandwiches and chicken, and of course in pasta. It's very, very versatile. We love it. We usually keep some in our refrigerator all the time. Most of the time it is store-bought, just because of the time factor here. Okay, I'll finish pulverizing these pine nuts, and we'll come back when it's all pasty again. The texture on this is really starting to look like pesto. Oh, and as we say, the aroma of this continues to just be marvelous. Next is the cheese. So we're going to be working the cheese in now. It almost appears like the whole thing won't fit in this bowl, but it does. And so we're just easily working the cheese in. It just blends right in. It's already in very tiny pieces, so that makes it nice. And again, this is 2 ounces of grated hard Parmesan. I'm sure that you can use any hard Parmesan. You don't necessarily need to use the Reggiano, although it does have delicious flavor. So now it's really turning pasty, just like we like our pesto. And the last part is to just stream in the olive oil. And this is a little bit messy and splashy, so I've got to do this quite slowly, but now that you see what I'm doing, we don't need to stay on camera to do this whole thing. So we'll come back when I've streamed in and mixed in all of this olive oil. This is finished. And I wanted to show you that I started with a half a cup of olive oil, and I'm down to under a quarter of a cup. So this is probably about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half that I did not use. But if you'll come in real close here, and you can see that you know that you have enough olive oil when after you've stirred it and it has set for a minute, the olive oil has risen to the top and you're seeing an oily surface. And so that's exactly what we wanted to see. So this is now ready to go, and we are going to plate it up and have it for lunch. So our pasta is just about ready, and when it's ready, I'll show you how we plate that up. The pasta is ready, and I'm going to notice what I have done with these plates ahead of time. There is a little bit of olive oil, about a teaspoon of olive oil, and then some of the pesto right in the center. You do not want to heat up the pesto beforehand. It will be heated by the hot pasta. So I'm pulling this just right out of the water. I want a little bit of that starchiness and the water right on here. And over here. And then we're going to take a little bit more pesto and put on the top. And we are just now going to work this in. It's steamy hot. Oh, the fragrance is reaching up to my nose. It is lovely, lovely. Everything is nice and warm, and you can preheat the plates if you wish. Okay, this one is ready. And this one is mine. Fresh pesto, fresh cooked pasta. Oh, what a lovely lunch. Nice and light for a hot summer day. And we'll just put this little sprigs in place. And there we have lunch. So thank you for joining us, and if you'll excuse us, we're going to go eat lunch. We'll see you next time. Bye.